The United States, Canada, and Mexico are preparing to host the World Cup.
Some fans say they're boycotting the upcoming World Cup games in the U.S.
What we're seeing right now is when politics and global sports collide.
They're trying to figure out the transportation, but also the infrastructure and the security needed.
Talk about the preparations here. Are we ready?
One of the biggest challenges facing this World Cup is transportation to the stadiums. New Jersey is reportedly planning to charge fans nearly $150 for the 15-minute train ride from Penn Station in Manhattan to MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, značený Silverplanets. A trip that normally costs just $12.90. Critics argue that the state is trying to profit from World Cup visitors, but officials say the steep prices are really about covering the enormous costs of hosting 8 tournament matches. The World Cup has long been criticized for financially burdening host cities, with tourism revenue often failing to offset the expenses involved. New Jersey Governor Mickey Sherrill said her administration inherited an agreement under which FIFA contributes nothing toward transportation costs. According to her, New Jersey Transit will spend roughly $48 million to safely move 40,000 fans to and from each match. Meanwhile, FIFA is expected to generate around $11 billion from the tournament, while charging fans as much as $10,000 for a single ticket to the final. Sherrill stressed that she has no intention of forcing New Jersey commuters to absorb those costs for years to come, arguing instead that FIFA should help pay for transportation. FIFA later responded with a sharply worded statement saying it was quite surprised by the criticism and warning that the dispute could have a chilling effect on the tournament. The organization also laid out the lengthy negotiations surrounding transit funding, essentially arguing that it should not be blamed for agreements made by previous state administrations. FIFA further noted that organizers of other major events at MetLife Stadium have never been required to pay for fan transportation, an apparent jab at concerts by Beyoncé and Taylor Swift, both of whom have performed at the venue. Parking around the stadium will also be severely restricted because FIFA has demanded an unprecedented security perimeter surrounding the venue and its massive parking lots. In practical terms, that means traditional tailgating culture will largely disappear during the World Cup. FIFA is also controlling the limited parking that remains available, with prices reportedly ranging between $200 and $300. Beyond transportation, states and municipalities are expected to shoulder extensive security costs, including protection for FIFA officials. That means New Jersey taxpayers will effectively cover expenses whenever FIFA President Gianni Infantino attends a match. New Jersey's approach mirrors what Massachusetts has already done, passing more of the financial burden onto fans who are already spending hundreds, and in many cases thousands, of dollars to attend games. Like the Olympics, the World Cup often leaves host communities with bills that outweigh the economic benefits generated by tourism. Over the past 2 decades, only a handful of host nations, most notably Germany and South Africa, are widely viewed as having seen positive long-term returns. Even then, the outcomes remain heavily debated. For countries such as Brazil and Russia, the tournament became a major financial burden, while wealthy hosts like Qatar were able to absorb the enormous costs more easily. Then there is the growing controversy surrounding travel restrictions and immigration enforcement. Fans from 4 qualified nations, Haiti, Iran, Ivory Coast, and Senegal, are currently facing U.S. travel bans or severe entry restrictions. Supporters from Ivory Coast and Senegal who do manage to clear customs could reportedly be forced to pay bonds of up to $15,000, a requirement that also applies to travelers from Cape Verde and Algeria. Iran's participation in the tournament also remains uncertain, despite repeated assurances from FIFA that the national team will still compete amid escalating tensions between the United States and Iran. 2 months ago, President Donald Trump warned the Iranian team to stay away for their own life and safety. Combined with the latest restrictions, the rhetoric has deepened concerns that even fans from countries not directly affected by travel bans may think twice about traveling to the United States, particularly given the administration's increasingly aggressive immigration enforcement policies. FIFA has said little publicly about how it intends to handle the possibility of ICE operations overshadowing the tournament. However, reports this month revealed that senior FIFA executives have discussed urging FIFA President Gianni Infantino to ask Trump to suspend ICE raids for the duration of the World Cup. According to those reports, officials within the organization fear it would create terrible optics for international visitors to witness immigration raids during the tournament, and even worse if foreign fans themselves were detained simply for being non-citizens. concerns are already surfacing in host cities. In Los Angeles, a union representing food service workers at SoFi Stadium, which will host 8 World Cup matches, has threatened to strike unless FIFA guarantees that ICE agents will not be present at the venue during the tournament. Meanwhile, supporter groups and human rights organizations have warned that aggressive immigration enforcement could damage the atmosphere, safety, and global image of the World Cup. FIFA has faced a string of public relations disasters surrounding nearly every World Cup it has hosted over the past 2 decades. Ironically, the South Africa tournament was one of the few editions largely free from major scandals. Much of the controversy before kickoff centered instead on alarmist international media coverage portraying the country as dangerously unsafe, claims that ultimately failed to materialize. In the end, the tournament was widely praised for its atmosphere, energy, and cultural impact, with many fans still considering it one of the greatest World Cups ever staged. The problems became more pronounced in Brazil, where the tournament was overshadowed by political unrest, corruption allegations, massive public spending, and concerns over failing infrastructure. Protests erupted across the country as many Brazilians questioned why billions were being spent on stadiums while public services remained underfunded. Then came the 2018 World Cup in Russia, a tournament widely criticized as an exercise in sports washing, using the prestige and emotional appeal of global sport to soften international perceptions of a government accused of authoritarianism, political repression, and human rights abuses. But the build-up to the tournament in Qatar arguably became FIFA's biggest public relations crisis yet. In the weeks leading up to kickoff, headlines were dominated by allegations of migrant worker exploitation, with reports highlighting the harsh conditions faced by foreign laborers who helped construct the stadiums and infrastructure for the event. At the same time, Qatar faced intense criticism over its treatment of LGBTQ people, women, and its broader human rights record. The backlash became so overwhelming that FIFA President Gianni Infantino personally stepped in to defend the host nation during a now infamous press conference, declaring, "Today, I feel Qatari. I feel Arab. I feel African. I feel gay. I feel disabled. I feel a migrant worker." For critics, Qatar's hosting of the World Cup represented another clear example of sports washing, an authoritarian state using the spectacle and prestige of football to reshape its global image. In many ways, it echoed the accusations leveled at Russia 4 years earlier, where the tournament was similarly viewed as an attempt to project a more favorable image of the country onto the international stage. With just 1 month remaining before the start of the 2026 tournament, it is still unclear what exactly the United States wants this World Cup to represent. The country is not Qatar, but politically it feels far more polarized and authoritarian than it did when it originally secured the hosting bid during the Obama administration. That shift has made the prospect of staging the tournament significantly more complicated, given the political climate surrounding the event. The atmosphere already feels tense, and global tournaments of this scale tend to magnify political tensions rather than suppress them. Every major international event becomes a stage for political commentary, and much of the conversation surrounding this World Cup is inevitably tied to President Donald Trump and the controversies that continue to define his administration. That reality makes it difficult to ignore a remark made by FIFA President Gianni Infantino shortly after Trump's inauguration, when he declared that FIFA would make not only America great again, but also the entire world. Over the past 2 years, Infantino has appeared increasingly aligned with Trump even as the administration escalated tensions with Iran, one of the nations to qualify for the World Cup, imposed severe travel restrictions on several other participating countries, and publicly threatened or antagonized allies across the globe, including tournament co-hosts Mexico and Canada. To understand how unusual this relationship has become, you have to go back to October, when Infantino appeared wearing a red MAGA hat while publicly backing elements of Trump's controversial Gaza redevelopment proposal. 2 months later, he presented Trump with the inaugural FIFA Peace Prize, a moment critics viewed as surreal given the geopolitical tensions unfolding at the time. Infantino has also increasingly adopted the same kind of grandiose rhetoric associated with Trump himself. Before presenting the FIFA Peace Prize in December, he proclaimed, "The World Cup is simply the greatest event that humanity, that mankind, has ever seen and will ever see." And perhaps that is why many critics now argue that the United States is, in some ways, a fitting host for the modern World Cup. Being selected by FIFA no longer symbolizes prestige so much as controversy. Over the last decade, FIFA has repeatedly faced accusations of rewarding politically contentious host nations, from Russia to Qatar and now the United States, Critics argue that the tournament increasingly gravitates toward countries mired in political disputes, corruption allegations, or human rights controversies. In that sense, they see the modern World Cup less as a celebration of football and more as a reflection of global power politics. The unfortunate reality, they argue, is that co-hosts Mexico and Canada are inevitably being pulled into the controversy as well.